Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here, checking out the series. Please do hit that subscribe button so you can keep up with all the interviews that we put out every single week, new and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Great way to keep up with your favorite artist. And speaking of one of those, so excited today. Hauser is here and he's got new music, Classic 2, the sequel. Hello, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for this great intro.
It's a pleasure to meet you, and admiring you from afar for these years. And especially it's exciting because, first, you put out the Christmas album over the holidays. There were a few spare singles there. It all felt like it was building up to something, especially with your first US solo tour and an album to go with it. Uh, I mean, this is I just start out like, hi, congrats, but this seems like it's ramping up to a really big year for you.
Yeah, it's gonna be really intense actually, because once I start rolling, I don't stop for a long time. It's gonna be very exhausting, but also very exciting. So now I'm recharging actually. Calm before the storm.
Well, let's hear about the music first because Classic 2, this is the sequel. This is the sequel to the 2020 record, and you're taking these melodies again, reimagining for cello and orchestra. I see you're teaming up with the London Symphony Orchestra and Robert Ziegler. What brought this on? Why was there still more of this story to tell?
Well, Classic One was a huge success. People were really surprised that all these people started to listen to classical music again, and I was really happy to see that because this is my foundations are from classical music. That's how I grew up. Actually, that was my foundation, and that was a really passionate project for me. And I didn't expect that success is going to be so enormous, and people just seem to love those classical masterpieces in this new way of performing them. And especially because I chose all the slow romantic melodies, because I'm that kind of guy. I just like those melodic, beautiful, slow melodies. And so fans have been asking for part two for all those years. And thank God there is so many masterpieces. I can just keep going forever. Classic 3, 4, 5, 6. Hopefully we talk when it's classic 100.
You're gonna have as many classics as there. What is that compilation? Now that's what I call music, which is into its hundreds at this point. It's interesting that you say that too about classic music. One of the jobs I have here in Louisville, it's a cluster of radio stations, and one of our stations is a classical station. And in the past couple of years, their ratings have gone up beyond
True.
expectations, beyond what you usually see a classical station do. And we're hearing it from younger people more than
Yeah.
ever. Like something about this is in the air, and what you bring, it feels like a nice gateway to people who might not be used to hearing classical music. Do you know, this might be an impossible question. What is it about classical music that still resonates, that's still finding an audience?
Well, it's the substance is there. It's all those composers, they were putting their hearts and their souls into them, and you can still feel this. It's so genuine. Because those were different times. There was love, there was romance. Now everything is just fast food, junk music. Everything is just fast, fast, fast. Next, next, next. At that time, everything had a meaning. You know, they were living for this masterpiece. They were happy if they wrote one big masterpiece. They dedicated their lives to it.
Mhm.
So that's why you can still feel this. Nowadays.
Yeah. And and to be fair, you're also doing some contemporary pieces too, like the first single, like "Kiss the Rain." Like we talk about old pieces. This isn't exactly that. What was it in similarly that spoke to you from about this song?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to show that there are also beautiful songs that are being written nowadays as well. So that there is a hope actually. So
Is there, so what you do, and you do, so you tackle so many different sounds and genres. It's one of the great things about being a fan of you. Um, do you find that when you break it all down to the melody and what you're doing on the cello, how big of a difference is it with pop music, classic music, or any other genre?
Actually, I was really surprised because at the beginning of our career, also 2Cellos and start, we just realized that audience don't really care what we play as long as we put all our passion and emotion, and they love everything equally.
Mm-hmm.
And how we united all those fans from youngest to oldest and from all different backgrounds. We introduced classical music to rock people, we introduced to rock music to classical people. It was just one big mixture and everything just worked, anything. And that was actually the big revolution, a magic formula. And I really believe that it all boils down to the way you present it, the charisma, the personality, you know, that's it. Because everyone has in them love for good music, you know, you just need to show them the right way.
Yeah. And the way you do present it, and I'll bring this up again, you know, you're taking all this out on the road. You've played in America before and you've toured with 2Cellos, but this is your first ever US solo tour.
Solo tour.
And hearing you talk about the way, you know, the way you present it on stage, because that is some of it. It's like you do, the music does speak for itself. You know, I should say that first. But you make it entertaining. You make a big production out of this. It's more than just one guy on a stage with a cello.
Yeah.
Like, what are you imagining for this tour? I mean, how do you, is there a concept? Do you come up with a theme? Like, what all goes into when you plan something like this?
Well, I like to show I'm really a complex personality. There is so many sides of me. I'm a rock star. I'm a classical serious musician. I'm a Mr. Romantic. I am this. I'm that. There is so many versions of me. So I'm just trying to show a little bit of everything in one big show. So that's how I actually approach it. I start with some classical music to show my foundation, then move some to some romantic music, and then the next second part of the show is like just madness, craziness, adrenaline, people screaming, dancing, jumping. So it turns really into a crazy show, and that's formula we've been using as 2Cellos as well. So I wanted to keep that formula because first part is like it's like a contrast, and I like contrast, and people like contrast because they never get to experience this on any other shows. If they go to a rock concert, it's just rock. If they go to classical, it's just classical, and here they get all the worlds of music.
Do you work with an art director on this? Because, like, especially when I see the videos on YouTube, like, everything is beautiful and everything looks like it has a purpose, where it is and why it looks like that way.
I mean, most of the things come from my crazy mind. It's just they need to execute, and help make it into a reality. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is. What is the word? It is a magnificent spectacle,
Thank you.
watching what you do out there. You do occasionally play with a vocalist. I mean, most of the time, it's just you, but we do hear vocals in you every now and then. What is that like for you? Because when you're playing alone, of course, that cello is the voice and you make it so melodic. When you're playing with someone who's singing, does that change dramatically for you?
Nothing really changes. It's just I always treat my cello like my personal voice, and it's just like any other duet, they would do. And that was always annoying because they would always no one really seen cello before in that light that it can be, in the same lane as those, singers or anything. But I always consider cello like a main instrument, like the solo instrument that should be out there. It should be mainstream. It should be, and that's why it was a real revolution when I started collaborating with all those, legends, Elton John, Andrea Bocelli, U2, Aerosmith, Red Hot Chili Peppers. It was amazing to see this, the cello suddenly became, up front for world to see.
Yeah. I was watching the Chili Peppers video, which has now been over a decade, but that one is especially interesting because of course you've got Flea on stage, who's one of the most infamous bass players of all time, and I wonder if there's any kind of rivalry that comes along with a bass player and a cello at a moment like that.
No, it's music just unites everyone.
Yeah.
No
So,
rivalry.
It was fun seeing you guys up. How's how's your singing voice?
Some people say it's good, but I don't believe them. I still don't have confidence to. Everyone keeps telling me, you should sing, you should sing, you should sing. I never consider myself a good singer, but recently they just keep telling me to try and sing. But you know, there are great singers out there. I mean, I think I should just stick to cello. That's my voice.
Somewhere down the line, I feel like with as many different concepts as you tackle, that's gonna happen one day, maybe. I feel like I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised. Anyway, so hearing a little bit more about this record, what else can you tell us about it? The song choices. Again, as you said, you could have picked songs for 10 more albums. What was it about this group? Is there anything that kind of ties them together, pulls them together?
No, that was really hard, as always, because there is so many beautiful classical masterpieces, and they all work perfectly on the cello. And yeah, it was very hard. The list was long. The list was like for next 10 classic albums, but you have to choose. And well, we tried to choose most beautiful ones, but I mean, you cannot really. Music is subjective. You cannot really say. They're all absolute masterpieces. And of course, I mean, it's the same concept as classic one. All those mostly slow songs, because cello is like perfect for those emotional melodies. And actually, when you hear those songs on the cello, you wonder why those composers didn't write it for the cello. It sounds like perfectly for the cello. Yeah. And all those hundreds of years, the cellists didn't think about it either. So yeah, it's actually obvious choice for me.
So here you are. You've saved the song from itself and put it in its proper context.
Yeah.
You bring up 2Cellos as well. I think I saw Luka was also coming out with an album this year, and you've talked in interviews before about how you still kind of keep up with each other. Do you listen to each other's music at this point? I mean, is there that kind of friendship that still exists?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we always keep an eye on each other, what the other one is doing, in a normal, friendly way, of course. And yeah, he now wants to. He's actually a composer now, so he writes his own music, which is amazing. I didn't even know that he has this kind of ability. I was really surprised. I was like, wow, that's Luka. He never showed me those skills when we were touring around. So wow, I was really surprised.
That's funny. All that time together, and there's still secrets.
Maybe write a tune or two for me as well.
I'm sure fans would very much enjoy that. Sure they would. Well, it is exciting to see what you've done. And I really enjoyed the player and the Latin flavor that came. I mean, it's, hearing you just talk about all these ideas you have, knowing that you can jump from that, to classic two. And, and what, it's not unusual. You release that in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Like what is it like that in the Phantom of the Opera theme? Like these are just like how many do you just have one-offs lying around? When did those happen and why?
It's not unusual to happen.
Waka.
I have so many crazy ideas. I wish I can be more productive, but you have to follow the schedules. You need to wait, and I would just do so many different things at the same time. It's crazy. I mean, it's all here in my head, and it's not actually easy to be in my head. But there is so many more ideas, and I just want to knock it all out one after another and keep moving. And I'm young, full of ideas. I want to do it, and sometimes it's like frustrating to wait for another album every few years. So I hope to one day find the way that I can just keep creating as much as possible, because really the ideas are limitless. There is nothing you cannot do on the cello. Anything you actually try and do on the cello sounds great. So I'm like a jukebox, really.
Well, yeah, especially some of those videos that you've posted. I don't know if you meant it to be this way, but several of them are movie theme songs. I Will Always Love You, Love's theme from Love Story. I mean, even when you look at Phantom of the Opera, something like that. Like I had wondered, is that a concept that you're kind of messing around with, because the movie tie-in seems like an obvious thing.
There are endless movie themes that are perfect for the cello, and actually there is cello in every movie. Every emotional scene, every crying scene, you hear the sound of cello in the background. So for sure, meant to be there.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's another album for another time.
Yep.
Right there. Classic 2. I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of it. Kiss the Rain, beautiful song there. And the US tour. It's going to be great to see you out here on the road. Hauser, thank you so much for taking the time to stop by and talk all about it.
Thank you so much.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All 3 of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.